Howdy, howdy, everybody, and welcome back to Stranded Deep in Conversation, where I talk about a bunch of nothing. But this time, I have much more structured nothing to talk about. I've actually been putting down some stuff, so we got plenty of stuff to chit chat about today. Hope you're all doing well. Apologize, I know I mentioned yesterday that I was going to stream today, but I've got a lot of things to do today, apparently. Including work. I got put on today, so I only had enough time to really do this. I apologize. But here we are. It's me. Maybe I don't know. We'll see. Either way, hope you're all doing well. Hi, it's me. I'm still here, so don't think I forgot about you guys. Hope you're all doing well. As I already said, probably like 4 times. I can never remember what I say. That's just fact. Today, we're going to be talking about my first job, as you can see by the title. Some of you may know, retail is not my first job. This job I have right now is not my first job. But however, it will be the first job I talk about today, because we're getting into this week in retail, baby. And nothing happened. It was literally the most boring week of my life. I mean, it was kind of made to be boring, because all I really did was do training stuff, so it wasn't like it was super enthralling or exciting. But you know, when you get a bit of a promotion-woshi, then you gotta do training, apparently. At least where I work. So yay me, I'll take it. But I mean, just a bunch of boring training. So other than that, it's been pretty good. Pretty solid over there. It's just boring. It was just a boring few days. And I'm sure today will be just as boring. So yippee me. But yeah. Let's get into the actual topic for today. As I mentioned, just as mentioned previously, the only time I applied to any other store. I wrote all this down. I wrote some of it down the other day. I finished writing the rest of it when I woke up. So I had like a thing to talk about. I don't remember at all when I mentioned previously that I applied to a McDonald's at one point. But I did. My first job. Let's get into the idea of going to get a job. Because I didn't really think about a job till I was like 15, 16, when I was like, okay, money's cool. Probably want money. That's kind of a good thing. I have some time after school. All I really do is just dick around with my friends. I could probably spend some of that time, like good money and stuff. Money's cool. So I applied to a McDonald's because my sister worked at a McDonald's. My older sister. She worked there for a couple of years, and she said it seemed easy. It seemed easy. She said it was a drama-filled cesspool of hell, but I mean, it was like, that sounds like a job. Like, I'll do it. Why not? Whatever. And so yeah, there was a store that was like not too far away from where I went to school. That I was like, okay, she's not working at this one. She works at one that's closer to our home at the time. Well, she did at the time. So I was like, let me apply to this one, and we'll see how it goes. And they called back, and I had an interview. And I was like, oh shit, wow, all right, I got an interview. This is awesome. Like, I applied, and I got an interview. And the first job that I asked for, things are looking up me. And I go into the interview, and they're incredibly skeptical immediately. And I'm like, oh, why? Why is this the case? Apparently, they didn't believe my schedule was actually accurate to what I could do. Because I told them that I could start shifts at like 3 o'clock. With that being said, school would end most days at like 2:45. So I put that I had mock trial on certain days, so I told them those days I couldn't work, but every other day, 3 to 10 was effective, or like 3 to whenever things closed effectively, was when I could work. And they were like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, no, it's fine, I could make it. Like, that specific McDonald's was a train stop away from where I went to school, which wasn't terrible. It was like a 20-minute walk, assuming I didn't like hurry the walk. It was like a 20-minute walk. So in reality, if I sped up and I walked pretty fast, I could have gotten there with like within 15 minutes, so like probably 10 minutes. If I jogged to work every day, probably could have done 10 minutes. Honestly, they were pretty right. They were pretty great. It was a dumb thing, and I imagine that I could have spoken out with them and figured out a better time to start. But I didn't do that because I didn't fill a need. I thought, hey, I could totally do it. I'll be fine. Because I always assumed that I wanted to be the most agreeable and easy to fit into a schedule person. So but that was a little too much, I gotta say. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, they seemed to think I was okay. They didn't mind. I asked what I could do. I told them I could do stuff. They asked if I had experience cleaning toilets. I was like, yeah, I've cleaned a toilet before. It's not that hard, really. And yeah, so, I mean, I can't remember much else that happened in the interview, except for them thinking I was an idiot. Other than one of my old friends came in to apply at that exact same McDonald's. And I didn't say hi to him because we just kind of drifted apart at some point, and I was incredibly socially awkward. Still kind of am, but I would probably have gone up to him and said hey at this point. But back then I was fucking terrified to even look at him because I was afraid he'd look at me. Then we'd be like, hey. So I didn't do that. And I didn't actually wind up working there. I'm pretty sure they called back because I got a call from a random number I didn't know a day or two later. So I was like, okay, they're either gonna call saying, hey, it didn't work out. She didn't say they did. It said they'd call if they were good. Otherwise, it's don't even tough luck, kid. But I got a call back from somebody, but I didn't take the call. I just let it ring, and I think they left a voicemail, but I didn't even look at it. I think I instantly deleted it because I was just terrified of it actually being the McDonald's. Mainly because my girlfriend at the time really wanted to spend more time together, and I was like, oh shit. I mean, I do school, duh. And then if I add work to that, I'll have no time to spend with them. So if they want that, then I won't get a job, which was. Now I think about it, and after immediately thinking about it, pretty dumb move. Pretty stupid move. But I mean, hey, what are you gonna do? It is what it is. And that comes into my actual first job. Because, again, I didn't get that job. So, if I ended the conversation there, it would have just been, hey, what my first job was? It actually was this job. That's not a good story. That's clickbait, at the most. Or the least. I guess I didn't specify until now that this wasn't my first job. It could have been. I guess it technically is because it's my first. This is my first job that I went out to get and applied for and got it. Might I add? I also I didn't really. I was like, oh, I'll work here, and I applied, and then I also immediately got a freaking call back. And that was actually around the time when I started doing YouTube stuff, around November of 2021. I applied for this place, and sometime in November I started doing a Retro Bowl series, and mid-recording the second episode, they called and they were like, hey, can you just ask a couple questions? And alright, just come in for orientation stuff in a few days. And I'm like, oh, cool beans. And I guess I paused it weird, or I didn't pause it or something. So I did something with the recording to take the phone call that when I ended it, it completely corrupted the thing, and I didn't have the recording, and I already played 3 games of Retro Bowl, so I was like, well, shit. I guess I don't need to do this anymore, and I just kind of gave up because I had a job now. I was like, oh, okay, well, this is more of my time going now. Of course, now I have actually done somewhat of a proper, more balance between everything. So, but I've also kind of just sunk most of my free time into doing nothing nowadays. So again, soon that will change. But for now, hi. For now I'm here. But again, that's not my first job, so we don't need to talk about that much more. My actual first job was when I was back in college, because I was in college for a year. From 2020 to 2021, I was in college. It was pretty cool, pretty good experience, and as part of my, field of scholarships and stuff, I also got work study at the school I went to, and I was like, okay, yeah, this seems cool, and they gave me a list of things I could do, and let me tell you, the work study at that school was fucking awful. Let me just say that. Not the jobs necessarily. I'm sure every one of those was full of people who really cared about it and were really excited to work with whoever. But the list of them were very limited, and they all pretty much were just medical ones. Oh, you can work in the nurse's office, or oh, you could freaking go do I don't remember most of them, but all I remember was that they were all a bunch of medical-y ones. And I was like, oh, I don't have experience doing any of this. And a lot of them needed experience. They're like, oh, you need to be in this specific field doing these specific things. You need to have some sort of like CPR training or whatever. I'm like, I don't fucking. This is a what? It's work study. So there was one that I plucked out, and I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily like it says in the description. It's kind of like a thing like that, but not so much. It was like a bit more reasonable. And it was a training room assistant. And what I would do is I would essentially just help athletes out with like whatever was needed when they'd come into the building, you know. Sometimes they would just need to talk to a coach, sometimes they just wanted something done. Either way, that was technically my first job. And let me tell you, it was barely even a job most of the time. Because the main thing I did on like, I would say like 85% of days was I sat down at like one of those fucking like middle school desks with like the table attached to the chair. I sat on that right in front of the door, because again, this was like during COVID, like when COVID was really bad, but like our school was still doing it in person. They fucking like, and really all I did was I had a thermometer, and I would have to let people in because the door, like, it locked from the inside, so because like most doors would do. So I had to open the door for them, and then before they could come in, I had to take their temperature, because if they were too high, they were refused out of the building because they could have COVID, they could have a fever. It doesn't really fucking matter. Whatever the reason is, get them out of here. Which I never had to do, by the way. The entire year I did that. I didn't have to kick anyone out once, which is good. I'll take that. I didn't want to kick people out, so I'm glad I didn't have to. So pretty much my job was obsolete, because believe it or not, people who come in there to go do training stuff or talk to coaches or whatever weren't sick. They just weren't sick. They weren't stupid like that. So I mean, hey, well, whatever. So that was most of my day. Most of the time, I would just be sitting there in front of the door, or behind the door, but in front of the door, in front of the door from the inside, just sitting there with a thermometer, and I would do homework. Like, that's pretty much all I would do. I'd work on papers I had to write, I'd catch up on reading and stuff, do like quizzes and whatever. There's a lot. I had a ton of work, but I was able to do most of that during work studies. I was like, okay, this is cool. This all kind of works out. And it was like, usually it was like anywhere from like 4 to like 6 or 7 hours. I think like 7 was like the peak. And that was if they were like, oh, can you stay for a little longer? I've got some extra people. Or like, oh, can you come in a little earlier? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, I don't fucking care. And I still hold that sort of mindset now with my job. Like, if things are needed, or if they ask me to do something, I'm like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. I'm pretty laid back. I don't really care much if you need some extra help or whatever. But no, which is probably not necessarily a bad thing, but it definitely pulls me into doing a lot more than I expect, I guess. But it's fine. Again, I don't really care. I'm not one to care. That's not what we're talking about. We're here to talk about this job. Let me tell you, this job was interesting, to say the least. Other things I would do were actually, like, helping out in the training room. Because the thing is, though, training room assistant is a weird term, because I don't know what a training room is still. If I had imagined a training room, it would be like, there's a football training room, there's a baseball training room, like, they all have their own different things. The place I was at, it was inside of like a weird hallway in like the big gymnasium building that we had. But it was like on to the side, and then there was like a hallway, and then it led into one room with some of those like doctor beds that aren't really beds, but they're kind of like a weird fucking plasticky thing all over the top. It's like a flat bed. And there were like a bunch of like equipment in there, so you can like you can give them ice, you could like wrap, you can tape them, you could do like the cups, the things you like suction onto your back, those terrifying fucking things. They had those there. They had like massage guns and stuff. They had a bunch of shit. They had a whole bunch of shit. And that was pretty much where I was. If I wasn't doing their temperatures and whatever, I was kind of just over there, like wrapping ice around someone's leg or taking cups off someone's back while the coaches were talking to somebody and they didn't feel like doing it. They literally would just be like, Harris. And half the time I had earbuds in because I was never really told to do anything. But I had it pretty low, so I'd be like, are they calling for me? And I turn around slowly, and they're like, come here. And I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. And I would just do the thing. Yeah, it was whatever. You know, they didn't care. They had no proof either because I had such big fucking hair at the time they couldn't see it. Which is a pro tip, by the way. If you ever go into anywhere, have big hair so you can block out your earbuds, especially now that they're wireless. When they were wired, I had wired earbuds at the time, so I had to like tuck them like into my shirt so they wouldn't see it. But otherwise, I was home free, baby. It was pretty good. But yeah, there was a bunch of other stuff that would have to be done as well. And one of the bigger things was I also had to bring water to and from the fields that the sports were being played on and stuff. So like if a football had a thing, I had to like bring water to them. And, or if they were playing like baseball or whatever sport was being played, I had to go bring them water. And the water wasn't just like a bottle of water. Like, hey, bring this bottle to Jeffrey. He wants water. No, like I had to bring, because reasonably they needed more water than a bottle. They had these giant like 1,000,000-gallon Gatorade jugs that you would fill with water, and then you'd bring them around to whatever fields you were going to. And how would you do that? Water's heavy. Did you have like a little like dolly thing you could like carry it on? No. We had the Gator. And actually, conveniently, the first day of the job, I was introduced to this Gator because somebody drove me around on it. And it was the first and only thing that has ever actually made me want to go into a car and drive it. Because I don't like the idea of driving. It terrifies me to my core. But this thing made it so fucking awesome. Because it was... A Gator is what they called it. I don't know if it's another word for it. But effectively all it really was it's like a quad bike thing. It's like a tiny car with no top. It was like a quad bike. I can imagine it looks like a golf cart minus the top weird shingles bit, but also like a bit more chunky, so because it could hold more shit. That thing was so fast. Like the guy showing me around the fields fucking blasted it. It was insane. Like it's like he was driving with purpose, and it was incredible because we were going downhill and shit. And there was no seatbelts in this thing, by the way, so you were barely clinging on to whatever little handlebar on the side there was. So I was fucking getting joinked around like a roller coaster, and it was awesome. I like driving when there's like breeze coming through, but you can't open the window all the time because sometimes it makes that weird fucking like popping sound in your ears, and it's like, what the fuck? Why is this happening? Why is it happening now? It didn't happen before. It's dumb. But this was awesome. This was great. It was just fucking cool, and they showed me around the fields. They told me what sports were played where. Like it's like, oh hey, this is the baseball field. This one over here is like the track and field, like they're running in circles and shit, whatever. This is this is our indoor football training room, and then we have an outdoor football field. It's crazy. It's cool. This place had a fucking incredible sports program. I don't know if they do good. I don't think they do. I've not heard of their name being in the top of lists anywhere, but they certainly had the stuff. If they were ever to be prepared to be awesome, they had that stuff there. And most of them were pretty close to the training room. Like they were like within vicinity. You could walk out the main entrance of like the room that I was blocking, and you can see most of the fields from there. And okay, cool. I guess I have to like walking distance, maybe like a 10-minute walk tops. Obviously with water you don't want to be doing a 10-minute walk, so you fucking bring the Gator, and it's like maybe a 2-minute drive tops. Again, very, very quick maneuver. There was one field, however, that was not very close. It was the women's softball, specifically the women's softball. This wasn't a baseball field. We had a different baseball field. For whatever reason, women's softball had its own field, and it was across the street from the school, just like in Timbuktu. Fucking like what? Like it wasn't like directly across from like the main entrance or anything. You went off to the side a weird way. You drove over some grass and paths, and and there it was over there. It was like the weirdest fucking spot to put a field, and they put it there. And again, it was across the street. So you'd have to cross the street. And the guy who was showing me around just fucking drove through the middle of the road like jaywalking, but with this freaking quad bike thing, this gator, just driving it through the middle of the road. I mean, there were no cars. It's not like he was going in like Frogger style, like fucking insane. But it was weird. It was weird. I wouldn't expect that to be how you'd get there. I feel like it's a pretty motorized vehicle. You'd think you'd drive it over there on the roads or something, but I guess not. Apparently it's too small. I don't know. I don't get it. And he shows me all these fields, and then he tells me that I'm expected to drive the thing to like bring water to some equipment or an equipment, other stuff, whatever was needed, to these games. And I'm like, listen, man, I don't know how to tell you that. I don't have a driver's license. I don't know if I could drive this thing. I'm sorry, but maybe someone else can do it while I just do the stupid thermometer thing. You know, how about that? That'd be pretty cool. And he's like, he didn't give a shit at all. He literally didn't give a single ounce of fuck to give. Because apparently, he tells me, you can drive the Gator without a license. Which I don't believe at all. As I said, this thing was practically just an open top car. It had a key engine. That thing ran on gas. It was practically a car. It may as well have just been a car. So I don't know how the hell you can drive that without a license. I don't get it. It was literally just like a tiny, like, smart cars. You need in order to drive a smart car, like, you know, those tiny ass, like, 2-person cars with barely any trunk space, that requires a driver's license. I feel like this was bigger than that, just without the top, and somehow that was fine to drive without a license. Like, I didn't believe it for a second, but it was my job, so I wasn't gonna not believe him. So I figured, all right, I guess we had to do that at some point. Whatever. I guess I have to drive that thing. It's cool. Whatever. I mean, it's not like I wasn't looking forward to it. I was really excited to, because again, I was fucking the wind, man. The wind made me go fucking loopy. It's like I felt like a dog sticking their head out the window and just fucking feeling that breeze, and their ears were flying back, but instead it was my hair floating around. Like, it was fucking awesome. So I didn't really mind that much. I was just kind of alarmed because, again, I don't really like the idea of driving, but that made me excited to try for sure. And by the time we were done with everything, I pretty much forgot what every field was. Like, he showed me every single one, but it kind of was like a drive-by. Like, that one's that one, and a little bit more, that one's that one over there, and that one's that. But it didn't matter really all that much, because they would tell me whichever one they were sending me out to, which was like, again, maybe 2 times, probably a couple more times than that, but at least 2 times. It was very limited. I barely drove that thing to fields, man. I don't know. Actually, no, I think I did it a lot more than that. There were 2 times, though, that I definitely had to go to that softball field, the women's softball field. And the first time I went there, I was like, okay, gotta cross the street. I'm gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Nothing's gonna happen. And I go the same path he showed me, because the one thing I can do sometimes is remember navigation. So I was like, okay, I know the path that he took, because I was paying very close attention to it. And so I take the path, and I get to that part of the road. There's no cars. Great. This is just like the simulations. I go a little bit forward, and I drive over the road, past it, bam, we're there, easy peasy. Did it with no problems whatsoever. The game wasn't done yet, and for whatever reason, I was told you give them the water when they're done. So I was like, okay. So are they almost done? I don't know. I'm not gonna go ask. I'm just gonna sit in the Gator and watch Invincible, because I was getting really into Invincible, because the first season, I think that was around when the first season came out, and people were giving it glowing reviews, so I wanted to watch it, and it was really fucking good. Didn't season 2 come out? I haven't watched it. I really should. I imagine it's awesome, but I haven't gotten around to it. I should. That actually sounds fun. I'm probably gonna watch that at some point. But yeah. So eventually they finished. I put away my awesome show, and I took the empty waters. I brought them the new ones, and I said, "All right." Which is wait, what? Oh wait, hold on. That doesn't make any sense. Why would they have me bring new water when they were done? Why did they make me do that? Then that water just sat out there for a while. That's okay. Well, egg on their face, but whatever. So I took off with the empty ones, and I gave him the new ones, which I now realize is the stupidest thing, but it's what I was told to do, so whatever. I guess they knew what they were doing. Maybe there was another game after that. I have no idea. I didn't stick around to find out. Because at this time, I was like, alright, I'm bringing these back so I can just go back to doing my work or whatever the hell I was doing, sitting on that desk. Probably just watching Invincible, if I'm being completely honest. But either way, I turn back, and I start my trek, and the moment I turn that fucking thing around, I realize, oh my god, that road is full. I don't know what sort of thing just happened. I don't know if it was rush hour or people were all just getting laid off at once and everyone had to go home all begrudgingly, but there was so much traffic on the way back out. And it was piling up the road, so I literally couldn't go back the way I came unless I wanted to, like, waggle around cars, at which point I would definitely hit one, and then I would probably be excommunicated from not only the program, but probably the college and maybe even the church I'm not a part of. So there's a lot of stakes on this, and I didn't know what to do. I had no idea what to do. I couldn't go that way because that was the wrong way, I guess. There was too much traffic. Because I sat up there for like a good close to hour at least. So a lot of time did pass. And so I had to think of something to do. And I did think of one idea, which was to drive a bit further down on the sidewalk, might I add. I didn't go on back on the grass. I went on the sidewalk, the very bumpy, shitty sidewalk where people walk with my huge ass gator, just driving on it until I hit the stop, like not a stoplight, but the crosswalk. I hit I hit the corner, and I got out and I hit the button to say I'm gonna walk across this street now, please and thank you. And after like 3 minutes go by, the light goes white. So I'm like, great, I can go. This is awesome. My idea was to just drive it over the crosswalk. Like, I imagine I could have gone into the road, but I don't know the ways of the road. And also, since I was told it wasn't technically a car, I didn't know if I could put it in the road. I don't know. But I used the crosswalk, which just seems so stupid. It might have been the right move, but again, I don't know. It feels stupid to me. But as I'm trying to go across the crosswalk, I don't know if I got it stuck in like a pothole or it just didn't feel like moving that day. But I try to make it go, and it doesn't go. So I'm just sitting in the crosswalk, take up the entire crosswalk. I hit the button. I'm the only reason traffic is stopped at this very moment in time, and I can't even go. A couple people start honking at me, and eventually after fiddling with the key enough, there was like maybe 5 seconds left in the timer to actually go across the road, and this thing finally kicks into high gear, because as I'm fiddling with it, I had my foot on the pedal like an idiot, because I was like, oh, okay, well maybe if I just sit here, I don't fucking know. And so this thing fucking goes from dead stop to, we're going now, alright, let's go. So I barely fucking prevent myself from busting my ass and dropping everything from the back, trying to get across this fucking crosswalk. It was awful. Nothing got hurt, nothing got lost, I didn't get hurt. It was just incredibly stupid. I spent like a good fucking 10 minutes trying to figure out, I trying to cross a damn street, pretty much. That's pretty much all I did. And then I went the same way I went, everything was fine. It was just a really stupid, I shouldn't be trusted in a vehicle. I don't know what the fuck happened. Imagine a person was walking on that crosswalk as I was doing that, and then I happened to go, and then fucking full speed into them. They'd be dead. I would have killed somebody if they walked past me, because I wasn't in control of that fucking thing by the end there. It was awful. And I never really had that many more problems with the Gator after that. I mean, most of the time, I wasn't driving across the street. Again, I only did that like once or twice during their season, so it's pretty good. Other times, I would drive it just kind of around, wherever I was going. Most of the time, I was going to like that indoor football training area. Just because I would be stationed there a lot, and I'll talk about that later. But the driving of it was never really that much of a problem after that. one incident. One part that was a bitch, though, was the parking of it at one point. Because normally, everything is fine with that. I just park it right outside, because there's a little spot right outside. There's like a little door, but I never fucking touch it. I never park it inside wherever that little door is. Because, I mean, it's not like... Okay, let me rephrase. I'm very bad at talking. I park it right outside. Because there's not only one gator. We have two gators. We have two. In case a lot of stuff's going on and we need people moving around a lot, we have two gators. And the other one normally sits and resides and just sort of rusts away inside that little door I was just talking about. It's in that garage, so to speak. Normally it's there, so I'm driving this one. I drive it back. I just park it right outside where it belongs. Everything's grand. But I guess a lot of games were happening on this particular day, and when I come back from wherever I was going, the door was open, and there was no other gator in the garage, and I was met with a task, because I literally just parked it outside, hoping to get away with it, and I come back inside, like, oh, hey, did you park the gator inside? And I was like, no, I'll go do that, sorry, I just figured I'd leave it outside like I normally do. They're like, oh, that's fine, just go do that, and come back in. And I'm like, okay. And at this point, it's all over. It's all over for me. Because now I am tasked to park this thing into this tiny-ass garage. And when I say small, and I say tiny, I mean small. I mean tiny. Because this thing, there's no way this fucking thing is meant to fit inside of that garage. It's more like a tiny shed, if anything. Like, if you go straight at it, like if I lined it up perfectly and went straight at this door, I could get in there. And it would just barely fit. It would literally practically hit the wall. There's like a shelf in front of it. But it would hit that shelf. And then you'd be like, okay, I have enough space to just barely close this thing in. And then you also barely had enough space to get out and shuffle around the fucking thing to get out of the garage to actually close it. So this thing was not meant to be in there. But we parked them in there anyway because we had two. I don't know. I guess we couldn't just park it in the grass. That's dumb. And I tried to go at it straight. Which, if you don't know, I have a problem with driving in general, and that is depth perception. I'm horrible at judging distances between me and something. Sometimes, like if I were to try to reach out to grab that the camera that's in front of me, 99% of the time I'd be pretty good at it. But there's times where I'm just like, I hit something that's too far away, or I hit something that's it's closer than I thought it was. It's like sometimes I live in a world full of those mirrors, like the side view mirrors that are like objects may be closer than they appear. That's just me sometimes. And it's not because I can't see. I see just fine. It's just sometimes my brain just breaks, and I'm like, oh shit, things are closer. And it happens a lot more with things to my sides. Like at work, I bump into shit constantly. If I have a cart, I hit it into things constantly. I'm a klutz. I am the definition of a klutz, because if it's not directly in front of me, it's very unlikely that I will notice it is in my path, and I will probably bump my arm or whatever. I have so many cuts on my hands and my arms. Not a whole lot of bruises. I don't bruise very easily, thank goodness. Otherwise, I would be covered in them because I'm always bumping into shit. It sucks. And I know for a fact, I knew for a hypothesis, and I now know for a fact that issue would be multiplied putting me into a vehicle, to actually making me drive a vehicle. Because, luckily for me, every time I went out driving, no problems. There was no one really in the road. If there were, they would get out of the way, or I would get out of the way, and I'd really adjust. They would adjust barely, I would really adjust, so I knew I would not hit them. And everything was fine. Parking this thing, there's only one specific way you can go in there, and it was straight on. So I go at it. I'm driving it up very, very slowly because I know my problem. I know I will fuck this up. And of course I fuck it up. I ding the other side into the door frame. I'm like, shit, okay, it's fine. I back it up. I readjust a little bit. I go at it. Before I go in, I look at my side. I'm like, it's pretty straight. There's no room in here. I pump it up a little more. Hit it again. Fast forward, doing that 8, maybe 9 times. And every time, a little dink on the door, a little dink on the door frame, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. And I had to keep trying again. I had to back up. Sometimes I would go at it at such a weird angle that I'd really have to like drive it around just to bring it out again. It was fucking awful. But one time, I was certain. I was like 90% sure that I had it lined up perfectly. That like I could barely like see a distance between the fucking thing's tire and the door. Okay, here we go. This is it. Let's go. I even put a little bit more pressure on the gas and into the side again on the other side. And this one brings out a problem. Because I try to back it up, and it doesn't. Somehow I fucked up the thing, so it wasn't backing up. I got it like stuck on part of the door somehow, and I start freaking out because I'm like, what if they make me pay for this? How do I fix this? What do I do? How am I supposed to get out of this? What is to be done? Like, how do you fix that problem? And eventually I did fix it. After like maybe 3 minutes, and what my solution was to just, it wasn't even to like, because you know like some people like put it in neutral and they'll like slowly push their car out of a way. I didn't think to do that because I didn't know how to drive, so I didn't know what neutral was. I turned the thing off pretty much in park, and I'm grabbing it from the side where I got stuck in the door, and I'm trying to lift it and pull it out of the way, like pulling it off of the wall myself. And somehow, I guess adrenaline was rushing through my veins because at any moment, I spent way too long out there. One of my coaches could have come out and be like, "What the fuck is going on here? What'd you do?" And like yell at me and maybe fire me or write me up or whatever. I didn't know, so I was freaking out. So I guess adrenaline was rushing through my veins because I was able, after like 3 to 5 minutes of yanking this thing, to pull it back enough where I was like, okay, it's off the wall. And then I go back in the car, I turn it back on, and it backs up. I'm like, oh, thank fucking God. We're good. Everything's fine. No problems. And at this point, I'm like, I'm not risking it anymore. I got it lined up pretty good. I get out of the car, I go to the other side, and I check it. And I'm like, okay, it's a little off. I can nudge it a little bit, and I'm not even driving at this point. I'm pushing it with my body to make it line up good. And I check both sides. It's good. I just have to go at it straight, and I went at it straight to get in. And I'm like, yes, okay, I'm inside. Just keep going. And at some point, I must have fucked with the wheel or something because I hit the fucking edge of the thing again. At some point, I go, and I'm like, oh shit, what happened? Why did this go wrong? So I must have accidentally been like slowly going in on like a left tilt on the wheel, so eventually I didn't go straight in anymore, and I hit the wall. I hit the door frame again, and this time I got it stuck way worse because now I was inside. I was mostly inside, wedged in, so that way like part of it was facing a little bit that way, and then like I was scared, like I was like lean. It was like. I was like step 1 of the Suez Canal. Like, eventually, if I wiggled it enough, I could have like pivoted it a whole 90 degrees and just blocked off the thing. Except I couldn't because the doorway was not that big. I pretty much did as much of a Suez Canal to that door as I could have on that day, and it took me so much longer. I didn't touch the mouse for a while, so it cut me out. But I'm back. But yeah, it took me so much longer to get that thing fixed than the other one because it was I could barely get out of the garage because it was blocking pretty much the entire freaking door. I had to like climb around it pretty much just to get out there to try to like wiggle the back straight again. Eventually I did, and then I got back in and I pushed it in a little bit more, and eventually after like at least 20 minutes of attempting to get this thing in there, it's barely enough that I can get it in and close the door and pretend it never happened. And as I close it, I turn around, and no one's there. But the realization hits me that I'm out in the open. Literally, not just my coaches, like the coaches, but anybody could have walked by and seen me struggling to get this stupid thing into the garage, watched me wiggle a car into a garage, and it's very likely because it is direct vision of the main entrance of like the mess hall, like the food hall, like the cafeteria building. There was a building for that, and everyone would go there to eat because they had meal plans and stuff because they required you to have a meal plan. It's stupid. And so many people go in there. It was like afternoons. People were probably going in for lunch. I imagine a fair amount of people watched that happen. And luckily, it wasn't like one of like the security officers, because they probably would have seen that and be like, "You fuck up the vehicle? Let me inspect it. Oh, you fucked up the vehicle. You're being fined. You're gonna be fined $3,000 to fix this broken bumper." Oh, I'm like, oh no! It didn't have any physical damage on it. Like, let me just mention that I didn't fuck it up. I just got it stuck for a little bit. But the fact that literally anybody at any moment could have watched that happen and seen me fuck up that royally made me laugh a lot, because it was just so stupid. I was finally done. The adrenaline was running off my body like running water. I was sweating it out, and it just became funny, because how does one fuck up parking that bad? Like, this is why I never want to have a car. And if I ever have a car, I'm not getting a house with a garage, because I could never get it into the garage. Even though those doors are way too big on purpose so you don't fucking ram into your house, I will fuck it up. I will find a way to fuck it up. Especially those 2-car ones, or that you kind of have enough room to fit another car in there. As long as you park in a specific spot, it's pretty easy to fit a second car in there. I don't know how people do that. It's insane. Other than the parking issues, other than the gator issues that I've had, pretty easy job, I gotta say. It was pretty fucking easy. Again, it was literally 85% was just me checking temperatures while I sat around and did some work. It was fun. And towards the end of the day, like, they'd have me go into that room with all the beds and whatever, and just wipe it down. Like, clean the cups, because they put like something in there, and then they like suctioned it to a person, so there's a bunch of like bodily fluid maybe in there. I don't fucking know. Either way, I don't want to think about it, because I washed those, and I don't want to think about it because I never thought about it before, and now I'm thinking about it and I hate it. But yeah, I would clean up all those things, and I would spend like the last like 45 minutes of the day just wiping shit down, talking to the coach or coaches that were still in there. And it was pretty good. I mean, sometimes like a person would come in and I'd check their temperature and we'd all just chat. It was really nice. It was honestly a very pleasant experience. Because I enjoy cleaning. I like cleaning. And I deep cleaned the fuck out of that room. Like, whenever like other people would do it, like, eventually it got to a point where they just said let the cups out to air dry, because I was spending so much time wiping each one down and dry to put back in the thing, that they were like, dude, you don't have to do that. Like, it's not like I was wasting time, because I still had I had enough time to do the rest of the jobs they wanted me to do, like wipe down the other stuff, like bring the thermometer and whatever. It was not a lot to do. So I figured if I was going to do this, I might as well do it well. But they're like, you don't have to like dry out each one individually. You can just let them sit there and dry, and in the morning we can put them away. I'm like, oh, but that seems lazy. That seems a little silly. But eventually I did. But it was fine. It was just easy. It was easy stuff. It was good. It was honestly good fun. I really did enjoy that bit. There was one other bit though that brought chaos to the thing. Which was the helping people part. Because, again, I didn't just clean, I didn't just temperature, I didn't just bring water. I would use them, like, they had, like, massage guns they would use on people. Like, in the cups. They would have me uncup people sometimes. Like, I would just, like, unsuction them. Which was fucking terrifying, because you just see these big red splotches in people's backs, and you undo it, and it's, like, a fucking disgusting mess. It was terrifying. But I did it. Like, I would wrap the ice on people, like, so it actually was like plastic wrap in a bag of ice, and you just wrap it tight enough that you can get the ice bag to stay on their body, and then you like tape people's joints with like the K-tape and stuff. As a result of all that, I have a massage gun because I like it. I feel like it's very helpful, and I know the general right spots to actually put it on to get the most out of it. Unfortunately, most of those are on my back, so I can't really fucking do it myself, but I have it in case, maybe I want soup to massage my back. But also as a result of that, I felt like a fucking idiot. Every single time I had to do any of the wrapping parts. Like, the tape, I got down eventually. Eventually, I got the tape down. For the first few times, I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know how much to put on. Apparently a lot. Apparently very thick coating of this tape you want. And I was like, okay, fair. That's fair. I did it, and it went through smoothly. But fucking wrapping that ice, I could never do right. I worked there for like the entire year I was in work study. I could not get that right one time working there, and I did it a lot. I did it so much because that was one of the main things people would want. Like if people were like, oh hey, like especially like when I was out helping at games and stuff. I'll get to that later. But the main point is, yeah, people would want ice, and sometimes people were like, oh, I'll just take a bag of ice, and I don't need it wrapped on or anything, thank you. Other times they want it wrapped, and most of the time they want it wrapped. And oh my fucking god, I can never do it right. It always looked tight. I would wrap so many layers of fucking wrap around this bag of ice, and it looked tight. And the guy was like, that's probably good. And then he would start to walk, and it would start sagging off of his leg or his shoulder or whatever he had it on. It would immediately start sagging down, and have to do it again. And I want to make this clear. Nobody was ever upset at this. Like, I was the only one who was ever actually taking offense and upsetness about this situation. Because the athletes were always the nicest fucking people. Everyone was awesome there. I forgot. There was one time... Okay, I'll try... I'll have to weasel this in somewhere. But, yeah, like, the athletes were always incredibly nice, incredibly cool. Just really awesome people. And they didn't care. They were like, oh, it's fine, man. You can try it again. It's all good. And then they're like, some people, they've had it happen before, so they were able to like give me tips about how to do it or whatever. But also whoever was there to give me tips were the other training room assistants, because again, it wasn't just me. There was like 4 or 5 other ones. And let me tell you, they had so much more experience. They were so much better at it than I was. They seemed a little like annoyed with me at some point. I feel like they'd be annoyed with me at some point, because every time I would do it wrong and they were in the area, they would tell me how to do it again. They'd show me how to do it again. And every single time they would show me, it would never stick, and I would be just as bad as the last time I did it. I could never do it right, and it sucked. Because I felt so bad, because these guys just want ice on their body, and I can't do it, and I felt terrible. I felt really bad. I felt dumb. And then there were some days where you actually stationed at a field, because there was a game going on, there was training going on, whatever the case may be. They need you at the field to give assistance to people on the field. And that's where I felt most useless, because that was, again, where most people wanted those bags of ice wrapped onto their body. Again, they didn't care. They didn't mind that it took a little bit for me to do it. They just probably looked at me like I was an idiot on most times. But I did fine. I just think I sucked. Other than the ice, I did pretty good. I got pretty tuned in with like everything that I had to do there, except for the fucking wrapping ice bags on people. I was bad at it. And there was one time we were at a baseball game. This is the story I was just thinking of before. There was one time where I sat in for a couple of football games, which I did write down. I am going to mention, because there were some games I was actually able to be there for, and one of them was a baseball game. And fun little fact about baseball: it's a very long sport. That shit lasts a long time, and I was there for the entire game. And the amount of times I had to run back and forth, get a bunch of water and stuff for people. Oh, someone on the other team needed some assistance. Let's send this guy over to help them, because we want to show them that we're good sports. So you can take our assistant, because we don't need him right now. Help out the enemy team, whatever. Just be nice. And I was like, oh, what? You trust me to go help them? You want me to wrap bags of ice on them? Which of course I did, and of course I did wrong, because a lot of people wanted it, and I was just, again, still bad at it. And of course they were also still incredibly nice, but they must have thought I was the biggest fucking idiot. They must have been like, they sent the dumbass to wrap ice on people? Man, they fucking hate us. Let's kick their ass in this game of baseball. They must have hated me. Like I imagine someone out there must have hated me. But that was really nice. Like our team's athletes for baseball, fucking nicest people in the world. Like there was one guy who was just really freaking chill. At one point, a ball got thrown at my head by accident. They were just throwing it around and it happened to hit me on like the side of my cheek, and everyone was super apologetic about it, and it was just really nice. And they started talking to me after that, because they were like, okay, I feel bad that we just beat up this guy who's just trying to be a helpful dude, even though he's really bad at it, but it's fine, let's not tell him that. let's involve him. And we just chatted for a while. It was really cool. He was, I believe, like a third baseman or something, or he was the pitcher. He was the pitcher. God, I'm bad at remembering things, but he was really nice. Everyone on that team was really nice. Everyone I've had an experience with over there, super friendly, super awesome. They were great. That baseball game was fun, and it was a long time. And eventually, like, not a whole lot of interesting things really happened in the game. It was just a lot of putting my work to my practice to work, and it was good. The coach I was with was one of the nicer ones. We had like 5 or 6, and it was one of the nicer ones. And she said I did a really good job. I was like, yay. Yeah, there was one point. I need to wrap this up pretty quickly. I have this is like the last story, pretty much. But there was one point where there was like a 2-day stretch of football games that went on, and these were on the outside field. Like, again, because I said there was an inside like football like training thing. These were games, so they were played outside against another school, and these were the big events. Like, people came, they had like a little bit of a stadium going. It was like full both those days. And there was so much to do. There was so much. Because every single person there, again, it was mostly for our team, but I think sometimes there be other fucking people over there, and they'd be like, we can help them out. Sure, why not? Let's just be nice. Let's have a good time. And I imagine they would have preferred anybody else there, because, again, I always felt the most unexperienced and biggest idiot on the beach whenever I went out there to do anything. But I was always free because I had nothing better to do. Because every time I would be working, I would be working. I wouldn't have anything else planned to do that day. So I didn't have classes or whatever. So I was like, whatever, I'll just do this for a while. And yeah, money. It's pretty cool. And let me just say, pay was okay. I guess it was. It didn't help me finance college, I'd say that much. I went there for a year for a reason. But it was fine. The pay was fine. I didn't care about the pay much at all. I cared enough to do it, but whatever. It was horrible. But yeah, so I was always the free one. So they were always like, alright, let's bring the fucking idiot. Alright, come on, let's get on. And they did bring one other assistant who was way better, way more experienced. They knew a lot more what they were doing. Except for the driving part. I did the driving parts to that football field. And that was awesome. I fucking loved that. I cruised through it. And it was awesome. I definitely hit some bumpy patches at some point, but I enjoyed the bumpy patches. They probably didn't, but I didn't care. It was me driving. I do what I want. It was awesome. And yeah, it was generally fine, but again, it was essentially me, that assistant, and like a coach or two, and we spent the entire day out there taping people, handing out ice, wrapping ice, so much wrapping ice. I didn't get one person right. I cannot underestimate. I cannot oversay one of those words. I can't. I have to speak to great detail about how I fucked up every single one. Not one person could walk away from me and have a pleasurable experience at the Iceman. They always had to go to the other person, or I'd have to do it again, and then I would get it right. But it never first try for anybody. Not a single person, ever. And we brought water to them. We helped them with actual injuries. Because, again, if it's football, people actually got injured. So we did have, like, a pretty big medical kit in the back of our gator at all times. And there were some times where we needed to use it. And people get cut up, and we'd patch them up. And I was pretty okay at that. Again, I was fine with every other part. I enjoyed being there to help them. It's just the fucking bag of ice. I could never get that right, and I felt so horrible every time I was doing it, because in my head, as I was rapping, like, don't fuck it up, you're fucking it up, oh, it's fucked up, it's so fucked up. But it looks fine, and he's like, yeah, it looks good. And he walks away, and it's just, it's that. It was horrible. And but again, everyone was super nice. Everyone there was always super pleasant. I always just felt so dumb, because I was so new to the entire experience. I was so stupid. I always felt like I was hindering more than helping half the time. Because it was just fucking... most of the things I was doing was giving ice and doing the ice things. So I was like, I can't do it right. I'm never going to be able to do this right. It's horrible. But, I mean, again, every other part was fine. I just felt like an idiot for that one specific part. It sucked. But yeah, I mean, it was cool, though. It was really cool, because I've never been to a live football game before. And I know this was just college-level football, but college-level was arguably more interesting football anyway. I feel like most people would probably agree with that. And just being there at a live football game was pretty fucking exciting. Like, it actually made it a really cool experience. Like, I I still do say, like, at least NFL football, definitely better to just watch it at home. There's a lot more. You get the better angles, you get better everything. But there's something special about being there and actually watching the game unfold in person. It's cool. But I mean, with that said, it's not like I had that much time to actually look at the game. I saw some cool plays and some stuff, and it was very, very fun and exciting. But again, most of the time was me and assistant lady and the coach lady just fucking healing wounds out there in the battlefield of football. So yeah, I didn't have much time to watch the game, but it was very entertaining when I could. It was very cool, very good experience. And again, overall, huge positive those trips. Like it's not like the coaches will pull me aside and say I did a shit job and you should just leave. They were really excited to have me there. So I think I was just a lot more negative to myself than I should have been, but I wasn't doing that good in my opinion. So I felt like I deserved it, but whatever. Either way, just it was good. It was a good time. I did enjoy it, and overall, it was a pretty good job. I actually did really enjoy it. It gave me plenty of time to catch up on work and reading and whatever, so I can't complain on that front. It wasn't like it was taking up too much of my time to do like school stuff, because I had plenty of time to do school stuff there. And overall, it actually gave me a pretty decent insight on like some stuff, like how to drive, I guess, eventually, maybe if I want to do that, or just like how to use like cups in the massage guns and like other things that I can't remember the names of or exactly how to use them, so I can't say I remember how to use them. So it's not like it's knowledge that would be beneficial for me now, but if I looked at the machine again, I would be able to know what to do. So yeah, there's a lot of cool shit, a lot of cool stuff that happened over there, and it was pretty cool, pretty fun experience overall. I would say it was like an 8.5 to 9 out of 10 job thing to do, the training room assistant. If I didn't have to do ice bags on people, would have been a 10 out of 10. But literally, it was the worst thing I could have ever asked to do. But with that, I guess that's it for Stranded Deep in conversation. If anyone has some interesting first jobs or just an interesting job story, let me know, and I'd be happy to read it, and I'd be happy to just read it. It's cool. I enjoy reading some stories. I feel like that's one of the things I do the most. Like, I love browsing. I had to uninstall like every social media I had because I would just spend hours browsing like story things, like green text Reddit things, or just like work stories on Reddit or whatever. But it was always like Instagram robots speaking them out loud because I didn't have Reddit. So it was doubly awful. But yeah, I love hearing those type of stories. So if you have any, let me know. You know, I can gossip with the rest of them, with the best of them. No, I can't. I don't know. I don't know what that even would entail. Learning to gossip could be fun. Maybe one day. But yeah, so that's my first job. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stranded Deep in Conversation. Hopefully soon I'll have something else up. I have a lot of extra footage from streams that I should probably start editing down, so I'll probably do that at some point. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, everybody.